It's a great pleasure to have you all here to celebrate the CIBAM WPP Distinguished Lecture and Panel on China and the Rise of BRICs and the launch of WPP BrandZ Top 50 Most Valuable Chinese Brands. Today we celebrate 15 years of continuing collaboration with WPP, whose CEO, Sir Martin Sorrell, chairs the CIBAM Global Advisory Board. By exploring the challenges and opportunities for business provided by the rise of China and the BRICs, and by holding the international launch of WPP's BrandZ Top 50 Most Valuable Chinese Brands. The next 2 minutes are a bit of a commercial. CIBAM is a center within the Judge Business School. It's a network of business and academics, the first center to be established within the Judge Business School in 1995. We explore the conditions for sustainable value and wealth creation and appropriation in the semi-global, knowledge-based environment of today. We do this in order to derive good practice and provide advice on good policy by identifying the links between practice, theory, and policy, and by exploiting dispersed knowledge and creating new. Our main forum is a global business symposium. We have a number of other activities, but the symposium, the next one taking place on the 8th of July, entitled Beyond BRICs, is an intensive 24-hour event for dialogue on cutting-edge topic, which proceedings are disseminated through publication, podcast, etc. The latest one, for example, the penultimate we have on green business and green values, it's published as a book in the next couple of months, and we plan to do the same for the latest one, which goes on the world order after the crisis. CIBAM is particularly proud of its advisory board's capability in selecting topics ahead of the time. We have been really very happy with this in identifying topics often many years before they became very big news, and sometimes symposia organized 2 years in advance were mainline news the day of the event. And for example, we dealt with things like corporate governance, Russia, religion, aging, media, security and terrorism, green business and green values, years before they became big news, and often predicting them, not least on the issues of the financial crisis, which we had a symposium organized at the suggestion of one of our board members, Jonathan Gardner, who is one of the discussants today on the financial crisis, at a time where really it was not even anywhere on anybody's radar. The distinguished lecture and panel today is on China and the rise of the BRICs. The rise of China and the BRICs is a paradigm shift in terms of diversity, geographical, institutional, political, business, in terms of business practices, developmental models, etc. And it has a potential impact, and in terms of its potential impact on business, geopolitics, and governance. The rise of BRICs challenges prevailing notions of governance and strategy at all levels: corporate level, public national level, and supranational level. Only in the past 2 months, I attended 2 very high-profile events, one organized by the Naval Academy of the US and the other organized by Jim March, an eminent economist, on the 2 aspects of this, the first on public national and supranational governance, and the other on corporate governance and corporate strategy vis-à-vis what we can learn from China. It's a huge topic. An example is provided by the Beijing versus the Washington consensus. Westerners have been slow, patronizing, and post-colonial when dealing with Africa. An infrastructure project that would take 5 years to negotiate with the World Bank would take 3 months with the Chinese. This is a quotation from President Wade of Senegal, quoted in a newspaper. And the emergence of Beijing consensus provides a challenge to the Washington consensus, developmental policies, and providing in the short and medium terms an economic opportunity for catching up, but also posing a potential long-term challenge given its non-conditionality. That is, the readiness of the Chinese government not to interfere or meddle with government regimes where they are actually providing support. It's a huge issue, this one, and how it will play out, the jury is still out. Another example is the shifting global landscape in terms of games, and you can see, for example, in the decade 2008 to 2018, much of what is happening in terms of sports is moving to the BRICs. Yet there are challenges. In terms of global FDI, for example, China is still only 6% of the global FDI, a far cry from the 50% US peak in 1967 and the same 50% US peak back in 1914. Facing emerging demographic pressures, Chinese brands have been slow for numerous reasons in developing, and global value chains, WTO, and control of system architectures by Western firms place constraints on the ability of many of these countries to move up the value chain. The ability of India, in particular, to develop a more diverse economy, and the developmental prospects of Russia and Brazil are under question, and today's speakers demonstrate some of these challenges. A major focus of CIBAM is on economic sustainability, and it is arguable to be the case that the main challenge of the rise of BRICs is in terms of sustainability in the long term. This is environmental, social, and economic, and how we are going to deal with this is a huge topic. It feels like bilateral and multilateral, but not global lateral, so to speak, solutions are unlikely to be sufficient. The question is, will the BRICs keep rising, and how this will impact on the global economy? And of course, the answer, as usual, is CIBAM. WPP, Distinguished Lecture and Panel on China and the Rise of BRICs, which provides a balanced prelude focusing at the corporate level here, in particular brands. But more answers at the CIBAM Symposium on July 8th to 11 on Beyond BRICs, so be there, otherwise I will speak to David Roth. We have a very distinguished program today, and I'm going to shut up in 2 minutes. My role here is just to introduce the next two speakers, eminent speakers, and then a far better person is taking over. We have David Roth, Peter Williamson giving the keynote speaker, and then Norina Hertz organizing and chairing the event, with speakers on China and India by Suma Athre, Kirill Slavin on Russia, and Gabriel Palma on Brazil. This is the part one of this afternoon. Part two is a presentation on the challenge of building and protecting brand equity in emerging markets by Will Galgi from the Futures Company, followed by the presentation by Doreen Wong of the BrandZ Top 50 Most Valuable Chinese Brands. And we have the distinct pleasure to have Jonathan Gardner, one of the first people to actually propose the decoupling hypothesis, which seems to be happening at the moment, or who is going to discuss and present his ideas about these things. Everything will be closed by a presentation by Norina Hertz, and then we will have even better time trying to forget a very difficult evening. So it's my pleasure to introduce David Roth and exploit this opportunity to thank once again WPP for sponsoring this event. David has a distinguished and very diverse career. He is the CEO of EMEA and Asia of the store WPP. He's been involved in politics, in business, in consulting, with NGOs, and now with CIBAM, so one can say he has done everything. David, thank you.
Thank you very much.